since we all have it.
We do. I know you can't escape it in this world, huh? We're
Right.
living in, right. Where there's form, there's trauma.
Where there's memory, there's trauma, right?
Right.
My
Yeah.
dog doesn't look too traumatized. One of my dogs doesn't seem traumatized.
Yeah. But I would imagine it's pretty peaceful in your home. You probably keep it that way. You probably do a pretty good job of keeping it balanced.
Oh no, I mean, some days are amazingly peaceful, and some, I have the reason I'm doing this one is because I'm in a relationship. I know conflict, but it's the question in life in general is whenever the shit hits the fan, excuse my English, how do you do the work, and what kind of work can you do? And is it a gift? That's a
Right.
big.
Mm. Yeah.
So I mean, nobody likes the shit to hit the fan, but really, in the sense, I remember hearing something about Taoist Buddhism is like when you can feel the same regard for like a something very ugly as something very beautiful. That's sort of the essence of. So we don't want to look at the dark side, but I think relationships are an enormous opportunity to sort of provoke the journey into looking at the deeper levels of memory and, as they say in Ho'oponopono. So,
Absolutely. So important.
what do you,
It's a very healthy outlook that you have, and it's great for everyone to adopt that same outlook because that's what we're here for, isn't it? Growth, upliftment, and learning.
well, I mean, in a sense, with my body work and just, I studied Buddhism. It's how do you, when very difficult, deep memories, and they talk about memories are playing in Ho'oponopono, ancestor memories, past
Hmm.
life memories, whatever, it's like a replay. How do you, A, work with the physiology? How do you go into a meditation, but it involves a physiology, when you are, provoked, or I would say evoked, provoked. And,
Hmm.
a lot of my work is just simply how to meet when something arises, how to go into a meeting place with the information that is trying to be released. And that's the biggest challenge, I think, in relationship with ourselves, with our partners, if something gets triggered, and we much rather go back. Let's say we're feeling really good and something gets triggered. Do we want to really go there? How do we go there? Even if we, and how do we even know what's going on is a huge question.
Right. Yeah, and it means Andrew and I have these conversations all the time, and we thought we'd create an opportunity for other people to share their experiences and learn about this unique and brilliant technique, Hopopono. Am I saying it right, Andrew?
Well,
Hopo-
we could
Oh,
just say hopo for short, but it's ho'oponopono. It's
yeah.
quite a mouthful. But the one thing I did want to say is the I have videos on my practitioner site. If you read the article on Ho'oponopono here, then if you go on both my Bluesy Water site and my practitioner site, at the beginning of the education links are some weekend uh, not webinars, actual, what people get together, what do you call it, conferences,
Mhm.
where Dr. Yulin is teaching, and I think it's really worth just to sit and listen to those videos because I've done a lot of study in consciousness work. I find their approach very heartfelt, very accurate, the way they lay out consciousness.
Mhm.
Now, they have something, just to be real succinct, they have what's called cleaning tools. So they're talking about working with the subconscious memories, and then they have various cleaning tools that they recommend. And really, that's in a sense what they don't extend it out, let's say, to the world. They don't have a link saying, suggest your cleaning tools, but there are many types of cleaning tools. And as God gave me gifts in body work, a lot of my cleaning tools lean on the somatic side, having studied trauma in relationship to memory and to the body. And so I have to frame it, they're cleaning tools for cleaning memories of the subconscious. So I would say that it's real important. I mean, when we suffer, we feel it in the body. there's something going on in the body. So you have to work with the energetic body is huge. When I say the body, you feel it in the body, but how does the memory actually, and I actually have a blog on that, how does a subconscious memory actually trigger into the body? And I should find that blog because it's an important blog. But that's really important to understand the pathway of memory when it hits. And these are very ancient memories sometimes. They jump from different times, maybe past lives, different generations. So that's why bodywork I found profound in terms of acupuncture, cranial sacral therapy, and once you can understand how to, in a sense, go back from the body through the energy body back to consciousness, that's a huge step because you now have an interface to work with getting to the memories. So cleaning tools are anything that helps you track, get to the memories, get access, so to speak, instead of resisting what's showing up. You're now maybe assisting the process. I'm just going to try to find that blog. It's in here somewhere. Alrighty, so Karen, where should we go from here? Let me
should we touch on what we were speaking about last night? That was very, very interesting. We ran out of time.
Here's the blog, by the way.
It was all relationship stuff, and I think I'm trying to remember. I made up that acronym CORE. I can't remember what it was for. Connect. Let me see if I can find it. But it really, I mean, this is a very, very old. This is a very old technique, Ho'oponopono, isn't it? And it's very effective. Probably one of the most effective techniques. Would you say? The clearing.
Yes, because the whole problem with, I think, any healing process is resistance, judgment. Your mind tends to want to get rid of the pain. It judges whatever's going on. You judge yourself in the process,
right.
And then you don't get the cleaning, so what they call the cleaning. So the opposite is to assist your whole entire being to get to whatever's, in a sense, what they're saying, whatever memory, whatever loop, whatever program's playing, you want to clean it. Literally, it's like having a computer. Some virus shows up, your goal is to delete or clean the virus. So with consciousness, that prayer is the first thing that I like in the prayer is thank you. It's thank you for bringing up this painful information, which is usually contradictory to what most people would think, like they're judging themselves. Go away, think positive. Now, the tricky part is if something very painful shows up and you don't succeed in cleaning it, it can just hang around and be very difficult. So avoidance or distraction, and a lot of what we do is not a bad option if you're not going to succeed and learn how to clean. But ultimately, for me, I spent years studying this, and once I really did learn how to start getting to the information, things changed a lot. And I started to realize there's a ton of deep, deep memories playing in our consciousness. And, you need to develop the most important skill set, Dr. Yulin says, is to have this relationship of self-love with our subconscious minds. He says that's by far the most important relationship in life. And once again, they have all these cleaning tools. So this is not an easy task. It's not like you just go, oh, there's a memory in there somewhere and it's hurting me, go away. It's to actually track down the memories, to get to the memories. These are deep meditation skills. And it's quite a practice.
Right. And that, master, I mean, that's just a lifetime's dedication, isn't it, to, be clear in our own stuff, so that we can enhance our relationships with others, not just with our partners, but with everyone.
Well, I mean, according to Dr. Yulin, it's kind of fanatical, but if you're attentive to yourself at all times, the rest will take care of itself. I mean, if a person sees that you're actually accessing deep into your subconscious and and you're clearing things, then people are going to be attracted to you because, you know, they're burdened. Everyone, you know, look in someone's eyes, they're burdened with something deep in their mind. If they see that you have a gateway to cleaning it, it's sending a message to their subconscious. This can be done. And really, that's the greatest hope you can give somebody.
Right. So what would you say is the most important aspect of relationships?
How do you mean?
Well, like communication. I mean, I would consider communication being one of the most important
Oh,
aspects.
okay. I would say prayer.
Hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm serious. In
Yeah.
fact, just to give you a quick example, I studied work with called holodynamics with Vernon Wolf. And, you know, from each work I've learned different pieces. So he talks about the full potential self, and he also talks about, it's kind of like what the Ho'oponopono call the superconscious. It's the part of you that's free of karma, that is the intermediary with God. So the subconscious, when you do the practice, you're sending the memories up to the superconscious, and the superconscious sorts out the memories, sorts everything out, sends it up to creator. Creator cleans it, sends it back to the superconscious, and superconscious relays it back down to you. So the whole idea is to get this process going of when the memories show up in the subconscious, you're bringing them up. And
Mhm.
then this is the ascent. So with Vern's work, he talks about the full potential self, which is the same as the superconscious. And in that realm of superconscious space, we all have one, you can access, let's say, ancestors who have passed, who are now free, but they have a unique position in that they can understand a problem that's occurring, literally replaying, because if they were in it, now they're out of it, and they're sort of in the light, and they're very compassionate. So one tool is to actually, like if you're having a fight with a partner, you know, and if you've talked to your partner, you might know that they've had, let's say, a loving grandmother. But in one case, for me once, I was having a fight with my partner, and I literally could sense her mother's spirit. And I said, Mom, there's this thing going on, help her. And seriously, within 30 seconds, the whole thing cleared.
Wow.
Now, that's the immediacy of love when you have an ancestor, enlightened, liberated ancestors that show up like guides. So we all have, some people have angels they turn to. Some people, you know, I think deceased ancestors have a unique place because they were in it. They understand the problem. So they can be very specific guides to really going in there at a very deep level of the mind and in a loving, silent way, just saying, you know, communing with, cleaning the data. They just go in there and they really get it. They know what was behind that, whatever's going on with that person. They know the lineage of that memory, so to speak. So it's quite extraordinary. It's one tool in meditation, calling on guides, ancestors, etc.
Now, it's important for us to give gratitude too, because I mean, they're probably there a lot of the time and we don't even realize it. I mean,
Right.
they're probably providing that guidance and protection and just there supporting us through life.
Yeah, that's actually a great skill set to develop, to sense the nuances of spiritual beings around you
Hmm.
and to have that crack in your armor, so to speak, of your mind to where you can see the light of these beings and to really, how do I put it, you know, really affirm the extraordinary intelligence of these spiritual beings as functional to the main intelligence of life is the spiritual intelligence. You see, we're so caught up in the mind and it breaks everything up, but really what at the end of the day, what does the mind want to do? It wants to go back to source.
Right. We need to dance more. I did ecstatic dance at the weekend, and I did it in Hawaii while I was there for 2 weeks with Destiny, and you know, like it is so healing, it is so therapeutic, just to get out of our mind. I mean, there's very, you know, we have different ways of doing it. I love to dance.
Oh yeah, I think dance is wonderful. I mean, I'm a musician. I played a gig this weekend. I'm looking forward. I'm playing tomorrow night and Friday night. Music is very also um, communing.
Mhm.
I'm real big into frequency. And yeah, some people are very kinetic. Some people are very visual. Some people are very, you know, auditory. I'm big on the audio. I also love kinetic though. So yeah, you went to you danced. I love playing tennis. That gets me completely. But I'll tell you one thing. That's like taking a vacation from the mind. I
Mhm.
have found that being able to go in and really clean the really nasty stuff and really engage with the dark side in a skillful way is pretty profound. It's rare that we can do that.
Yeah.
But
And
also, I am a Gemini. I tend to be very acutely aware of the mental, what they call the mental body, the nuanced like programs. It's just my nature.
right. Do you struggle with being a Gemini? Do you find that you're um, got this double mind, or do you feel conflicted? Did you notice any negative effects of being a Gemini that you
You just have to
want?
ground. I do a lot of grounding stuff to offset the. It's a gift and a curse. I mean,
Mhm.
in a sense, I'm very hyper aware of data, but also I learned to ground myself. That's why I do tennis, music, body work, and also I've learned a lot about brain chemistry. So I have also a very intuitive, yeah, the dual side might be a very childlike intuitive side, and then the other side is, sort of a strong awareness of what I call the mental body, but it's sort of very psychic also. So,
Mhm.
but it's kind of like, I don't know, you have a software engineer to get down to the code level. Part of my being a Gemini is I'm aware of the code,
Uh-huh.
so to speak. And it's a pretty strange architecture, as they say in computer language.
Mhm. How
But
about
anyhow, back to relationships, I think one of the key things that Lynn says that I always found amusing is the purpose of a relationship is to be bugged, so you debug.
huh? That can get
And
really irritating.
and actually, when I studied with Vern, he had this whole thing on what he calls shooting bullets. It was like a little act. Well, you can't do it with a stranger. I mean, you got to get your partner in there to push your buttons, or your parents, or whatever. But the bottom line is, his whole thing was, what's the positive intent behind the negative behavior? My thing is really more Ho'oponopono. When somebody's pushing my buttons, go off and do the cleaning and see what's showing up in me, what's being coming up in me. Now, what's also interesting is, let's say somebody's in a lot of pain and they act out and they cause you pain. So now their pain is your pain, and part of like the emotion code is you're actually cleaning what you absorb from others. I do this a lot after a session with a client if it shows up. I ask, what have I absorbed any of their emotions? It's kind of like it's like their movie gets into you.
Mm.
And when you're in a relationship, you're taking on thousands of
Right.
their movies.
Mhm.
You got enough of your own, now you doubled up the load. So are you now an interesting question is, you know, I think this is very difficult work. So in a sense, you're trying with if it shows up in you, what Dr. Lin would say, then it's yours to clean. You never can clean another per se.
Mhm.
So it's always you're cleaning what shows up in you. But you can pick up some pretty deep stuff and it can dump into you, and by cleaning it, you actually help the person. So it's like a virus. If somebody sends you a virus through an email, you have a right to clean the virus, and then you can even say, "Hey, I just cleaned this virus. Here's the program." Send it back to them, and they'll probably go thank you and clean their virus. In a sense, that's sort of how it works. So when you receive something from somebody and you clean it, it kind of bounces back and cleans them. And that's how Dr. Lin cleaned out a mental institution in Hawaii of severe criminal. Uh, it was a criminally insane, very violent mental ward. He sat in a room and literally just cleaned what showed up in him. And he did it
Uh-huh.
for a year and a half. And those people became peaceful. They shut down the ward.
Wow. That's a
So,
that's a real art, isn't it? To be able to facilitate that process.
well, I mean, he recognized the one thing that I think is I really like. You can never clean somebody. You can't go up to somebody and say, well, I'm going to be a psychologist. I'm going to help you. If you clean what shows up in you, it's the best way to help in the world. always focus on your own self-cleaning. Even, and by the way, it takes a lot of guilt out of relationship because, you know, what are you going to feel? You're going to feel bad for somebody? Well, are you helping them feeling bad for them? Or are they going to talk it out when they don't even know where the data is coming from? That's the problem with communication a lot of times is, you know, people are interpreting what they don't understand. And usually, you know, if you've been in a therapy model, then you go into some kind of therapy, you know, talk. And it depends what model you're trying to lay over, you know, what's going on. But actually, what is really going on is an enormous question.
Right.
If you ask somebody what's really going on, a lot of times you're going to get down to, I haven't a clue.
Yeah. So what do you do with that?
Prayer. It's cleaning. Learn, like I do, for personally, I will do, a lot of times to sort out, I do the emotion code. That's one of my favorite tools. Or I'll do the vibration machine. Why? Because that's what animals do when memories hit them. Well, when animals are traumatized and they freeze, we went over this in the last time, they do a shaking, trembling, very intense ritual to dump their memory, literally to dump the experience, to let go, to shake it off, literally. So that's one way. Your goal is to literally clean memories. Now, if somebody is afflicted by a memory, you know, hopefully they can learn the skill set to clean. But most of us are very attached to these memories sort of attach to us and we attach to them. They're very habituated. Generational memories is like, okay, you know, the minute you're conceived, great-great-grandma's trauma is in you. And great-great-grandma couldn't clean the trauma. So it's very intriguing, this idea of cleaning memory. And again, to me, it's like a virus on a computer. 100,000 people can have the same virus. But if one person cleans it, guess what happens? Usually it goes in the database and it's wiped out on everyone else's computer once they figure out the cleaning. They discover the virus, usually they develop a cleaning program, then they send it out all over the internet, and that's the end of that particular virus. Then another one comes along.
Mm-hmm. Right, so it's so important to do this work because otherwise we're transposing, you know, our data onto our children and then our children's children. And the way to be free is to live life moment to moment with no residue, right? So that's kind of where we're heading with all of this.
Well, I mean, my statement is simply we do laundry every day, we do dishes every day, whatever. We do laundry depending on how often. Oops. Okay, so I think we're just constantly being presented with multi-generational memories, past life memories, so we just need to basically learn to clean on a regular basis. And, you know, some people, you know, Dr. Lin says he cleans 24/7. I can't say I do it 24/7, but I spend a lot of time. Now, if everything feels pretty smooth for a while, I might take a break and enjoy the grace.
Uh-huh.
And the more you're attentive to the subconscious, the freer you are. I think a lot of people really try to get away from the subconscious because it's too painful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there lies the rub, so to speak.
Denial.
Well, it's overwhelming if you haven't practiced it. It's extraordinary. I mean, all these crazy memories is popping into your consciousness. You don't know where they're coming from. You know, how do you, and you can't analyze it. That's why there are these works to actually do more of a journey work. The emotion code is a journey kind of work. It's not left brain.
Right.
It's a meditation. I never know what's showing up when I do that work. But once you go in, it'll say, oh, you see, you're replaying the memory from here. And you kind of feel it like deja vu or a dream. It's like you're dreaming, and you go, oh, yeah, I feel that. And then they have a cleaning approach. I'm very open to many different ways to clean memory. I'm not, you know, I can get on what's called the e-power machine I use and do self-acupuncture, and man, that sometimes can just wipe me clean. It's like
So
a big...
of all the tools that you have, which is the most effective, or does it depend on what you're working with?
Well, the acupuncture meridians are a huge interface. That's one thing I've always worked with. If I do the chi machine, I have, I think, a video somewhere on that. But rocking on a chi machine and hitting meridian points with a Theracane was something I've been doing for 20 years. Your mind just starts to let go and kind of, the one thing, when your mind can just start going to like a flowing dream and things just start popping up and going, letting go, that's a good place to be. Now you're not trying to hold in the memories. So I do like using the chi machine and the meridian points with the Theracane. Also, an e-power machine puts you in a very high negative ionic state, and then I would sit down with that and do electroacupuncture. And that's another, again, using the meridians, but there's some sort of foundational field I try to create. Like the rocking on a chi machine is a little bit like a cranial sacral rhythm. So when energy gets stuck, you want to move energy on the physical level. The vibration machine is extraordinary because this is what animals do to release traumatic memories. Their memory might be very short term, though, but in a sense, humans have accumulated lots of moments of trauma. So by doing the vibration machine frequently, you're starting to dump, thousands and thousands of micro memories that you've accumulated. There's so many of them. The inherited ones are in you. At conception, you have all these memories that are literally born into you.
Mm-hmm.
Past life memories can creep up. So the goal is to have a practice to really, it's like having a great washing machine. You got really dirty clothes, you got a killer washing machine, killer detergent, chances are you're going to do a good job.
Right. So, how much time you want to spend just like sharing what your experiences are, and how much do you want to open it up to some questions?
Oh, let's open it up.
Okay. So, thank you for joining us tonight, and it's been a while since we've done a Wellness Wednesday. I guess because I've been away for 2 weeks in Hawaii, and there's been a lot going on. Do any of you have any questions for Andrew, or would you like to be unmuted and share your experiences and maybe ask Andrew, interact with Andrew?
Yeah, let's unmute everybody.
Alrighty. So you're unmuted. Hi. Thank you for joining us, and I don't know whether you're familiar with these techniques that Andrew's been sharing with us. They are very, very effective. Andrew and I actually talk a lot on the phone, and we talk a lot about relationships and, how relationships become dysfunctional. So if you have any questions or would like to share, please do so. We would love to hear. No? Okay. Moretta, is Donna with you?
How many people do we have on, by the way?
Not sure.
It says 4 out of 101, is that correct?
Well, it always says 101.
It says 4 out of, Andy's 4 out of 100.
So, Moretta, I don't know if you can hear me.
Karen?
Yes, hi Moretta, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
Speak with
Donna
you.
is not, I really love listening to your programs.
Oh, thank you.
Donna's not here with me tonight. She's down at her place. We're having very cold weather, so we both thought we should stay at our own place and make sure the pipes don't freeze,
Where are you from?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow, that is cold.
Yeah, we got some extra cold temperature tonight, but thank you for doing these shows, these
Oh,
webinars.
thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew's very, very experienced with this work. Are you familiar with the Ho'oponopono?
No, that's one reason I didn't get in when you first started.
Oh, okay. It is
But I think,
fascinating.
yeah, I think I'll try to re-listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll post it on the Quantum Life Education site. Andrew, do you want to go over like the important aspects of that again? Like
Well,
highlight.
Ho'oponopono for me is sort of like it's really like it's a modeling of the mind, and it's a simple prayer practice at the same time. And it's very pure. And it seems very simple, but that's why I put these videos up, because as you listen to these teachers, they're really talking to the innermost nature of your being and helping you to release very painful memories, basically, and trying to encourage you to release old, deep, painful memories.
That'd be very helpful to a lot of people.
Right. I mean, it's what tortures us all is really, they say, memories replaying. What makes them special, though, is they really understand that you are replaying. A lot of times, you're carrying the memories of your ancestors. It's like what they call the sins of the fathers. And there's a work I do called the Emotion Code that can really get you to see that you might be literally playing a memory back 5 or 6 generations. Like literally you're remembering something that an ancestor went through. And you're actually, it's not a, this is a question, whose memory is it? Whose mind is it?
Yeah.
And really in their thinking, it's like you're part of a generational tree and you're trying to get forgiveness for your mother's side and your father's side. That's a huge piece of their work.
That's very fascinating. How do you find out more about that?
Well, I have links to the videos. If you go to Karen, let's see.
Yeah, Maretta, I'd actually just shared with everybody the page, the Ho'oponopono page on Andrew's website. So you should have received that.
Okay, I can see what you're putting there. Good. All right.
Yeah, it really is very, very effective, and it's a very ancient technique.
Here's the Karen. Here's the intro, Ho'oponopono intro video, Ho'oponopono conference in Maui. 9 videos.
I can't think of a better thing to do on a cold day. Stay inside and look into this.
So really, it's like it's in a sense very Buddhist in a way, because you're trying to look at what's playing in your mind, what's going on in your body. You're observing, and you're trying to essentially, in their way, set up a forgiveness process. You're trying to literally put yourself in, first of all, by recognizing that something's going on inside of you, and first thing they talk about is taking responsibility. But now is, how do you actually invite Creator to clean the memories? And these are very deep memories. So I recognized that a long time ago. There were certain memories that I had certain issues with my family, and particularly my mother, and she was very tortured in her life. So at some point, their memories become your memories. And, they always say in therapy, well, you're not, become your own person. Well, I never really believed. I mean, there's a few people that might be able to just wave a magic wand and wash clean everything that they absorbed as children, as a fetus, and then as a soul. And most of us I think, believe that we come with baggage, past lives. The minute you're an innocent little being, supposedly, but you're kind of like a new computer that's preloaded with software, and as soon as you get out there on the internet, you start getting corrupted. So they're teaching a skill set to invite those memories to be cleaned. Invite is the key word. They call it petitioning Creator. So it's really a prayer. It's a prayer philosophy and a prayer practice. And all of my work is really around learning more skillful ways to pray, basically.
Uh-huh. That sounds very helpful.
So one of the things in a lot of these works is when you have a memory, it gets kind of stuck in the body. So I have videos on my site where about using a very inexpensive vibration machine to shake off memory like animals do. When animals are traumatized and they freeze, they do a very intense, you know how your dog will just shake all of a sudden? You ever see that?
Yes, yes.
But we humans don't know how to shake our nervous system.
Hmm.
So we get memories trapped in our nervous system. So this machine that I talked about is actually emulates what animals do. It's a very profound vibration therapy, and you can actually shake off trapped memories in the nervous system and various parts of the body.
And Andrew, you were sharing earlier about how to permanently load or transmit the data so that it's not being transposed onto our children.
Well, the more you, I mean, I think if you go into cleaning, you awaken, it's like a light bulb goes off to your children. Oh, she did this, she made this step. She walked on water, so to speak. If you, as your children's mom, start to tap into some very heavy memories and start to transmute them, you've started the wheel turning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a question of, you know, let's say your dad played a musical instrument, but he wasn't the super best musician in the world. You still got a feel for what it's like to do music. Now, you might go out and become a stupendous musician, but first you got to get a feel for what it's like to do music.
Right.
And these practices, you just get a feel. You know, if you start doing them, your children get a feel.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so we could help our children by doing this.
Right. Show them the process.
Right. Wonderful.
So it's not like there's an end place where you clean all the memories, because then you'll feel guilty for carrying, you know, you carry all these memories. Yeah. Ultimately, in a relationship, you have to recognize that each soul has a journey. And each soul is going to have to go through their teachings, their learnings, and, you know, it's up to each soul to learn how to clean.
Very fascinating. I'm glad I tuned in even though I was late. Thank you. Thank you. I'll let somebody else have a turn.
Okay. Joanne, do you have any questions for Andrew or anything to share? No? Okay. Well, Andrew, would you like to share a bit more about the effectiveness, like the benefits of doing this?
Well, there is a book that Dr. Yulin has. I should have it on Kindle. It's called Blue Ice. It's $10. And I want to just say one thing about all this work. They always emphasize being kind to the inner child. So the inner child is the part of you that's actually receiving or replaying the memories. It's sort of like you're receiving it. It's like the inner child is being afflicted, and it's cueing you to please help me. Mm-hmm. So that first step of helping the inner child is a huge step that they always talk about, kindness to the inner child. But also recognizing the inner child is trying to send these memories up, and don't push them back down, but acknowledge and thank the inner child for sending up the memories. That's like the first step right there. Now, if you're in a state of a lot of anxiety, when the memory shows up, that's another critical issue. What do you do with the anxiety of a very painful memory? So that's why, so now it's about, okay, the inner child's feeling very anxious. So what can you do to be good to the inner child? And really, all body work is a tremendous amount of high-level, skilled, nurturing practices and ways to release the body when it gets enslaved or grabbed up. The Buddhists talk about that term, grasping and attachment. So I always talk about this. Literally, it's like some boa constrictor snake just came along and starts choking you. That's what a subconscious memory is. It's like a little snaky phenomena that starts to squeeze things and constrict things. So a lot of the somatic work is kindness to the inner child work, basically. You're starting to get to where the memories root into the body. It's a very important piece, because if you can start to release and commune with the body can, that's a, the child says thank you, and then the child's more likely to bring up more memories, because they trust that it's safe. And there's that issue of safety that some people have. When a memory shows up, you feel very unsafe.
That's got to be one of the most important things in a relationship, isn't it? Feeling safe.
But really what you're not feeling safe with is what's being evoked in you. Some old fear, old trauma. Now, unless the other person is being extremely violent, yes, we don't like violent energy, but usually there's some associated, if you go off, you're going to realize, oh, this isn't the first rodeo with fear or feeling threatened. I mean, if you've never, but there will be an instinctual response. Like if, I have one dog that's got trauma memory, and you can see that if something happens, it's evoking the past traumas. The other dog seems to be oblivious to any trauma, but if you were like to say something no in a real loud voice, it might look at you like a little, it might knee jerk, but it's not internalizing that it's not saying, oh my God, I'm going to fall apart. So I would say a lot of times when something happens, there's a conflict, I'd say 90% of what they're feeling is replays of old stuff. And that's where it becomes an opportunity to go and work on the old stuff that keeps coming up. Mm-hmm. That's where you can say, thank you for being an asshole to your partner. Now I have an opportunity to bring up all this stuff that I haven't resolved.
Yeah, it's also about responsibility, isn't it? Not putting stuff on our partners that is unnecessary. And we can justify it as saying that we're helping them by doing that when we're really not. We're overloading them and overwhelming them. And like we were speaking earlier today, a lot of it can be testing. We test each other, and I personally think all of that is totally unnecessary. I would rather have a relationship with somebody where you're uplifting each other. And but I do get what you're saying about the testing, but maybe keep it to a minimum.
Maybe you should have a relationship with a tree and look up in the tree. And you'll be uplifted. Or climb a tree. I don't, honestly, realistically, I don't know anyone. You can't. That thing about inspiration. I get it. My partner inspires me watching. There's a plus and minus with every human being. Things you go, wow, I'm really impressed the way you handle that. I love your compassion this way. And then people have a dark side. I don't know anyone who doesn't have a dark side. And usually, people go into relationships a lot of times to resolve their dark side. Unconsciously, it's like, well, this didn't happen in the past. You're the one who's going to give me what I didn't get. Yeah. So then they realize that person is not God, and they get disappointed, and then they try to either go on to someone else, but until they learn to clean the root problem, where they were wounded or hurt, that person's not going to take away. It's too deep. They're not going to. That person's on a memory eraser.
Right. So
that person has their own memories that they want to, that they're afraid to confront.
We're choosing partners, probably subconsciously, to be able to deal with clear our own data.
Right. I think we're going to get the way I almost look at it musically. When you have a memory that's trapped, it has a certain musicality. It's like a bad, I was never a fan of the, what is that band from California? Ooh-wee, the 60s, the Beach Boys.
Boys, yeah.
I'm a blues musician, so if I hear a Beach Boys song, it's like, oh my God. I don't want to hear. But let's say you have Beach Boy subconscious type memories, and you might pick a Beach Boy partner. In other words, there's a certain music to memory. There's a certain frequency. So in a sense, when somebody brings up a frequency of of a certain memory, it'll tap into your frequency of your memories. So for instance, pragmatically speaking, the lung meridian, which is grief, is the same on every person's body. It's the same string of energy running down, it runs down up the, from here, can you see me?
Mm-hmm.
And down the arm, it's the lung meridian. Now it also goes with the colon, so when people have a lot of heavy emotion and they have a lot of digestive issues because it's lung colon grief, and it's associated with the metal element, so it's very heavy. So, but everybody has the same, like a guitar is a guitar is a guitar, and the E string is the E string is the E string, and the lung string of energy is the same in every human being, male or female. There's no gender to it. So if somebody starts playing grief, your string of grief, you'll recognize it and start, whatever's in your grief current or stream of, think of it as a river and you have all these stones of memories, they'll awaken your grief river. Now you can either say, I don't want to, I was just feeling happy. Why are you pulling me into grief? Or you could say, thank you for the opportunity to go swimming in the grief river and pull out some of these old stones. So every meridian contains very deep held memories. That's why, and they represent a key emotion. So the liver gallbladder is frustration, anger. Now the emotion code work, the chart, I have to bring up this chart. Let me find it real quick.
Have you done much work with medical astrology, Andrew?
No. But I want to pull this chart up because it's good. One of the reasons I like this work is because it recognizes the meridians.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make this smaller? Okay.
Love that chart.
There we go. So there's 10 emotions like we're talking about the lung. So if I'm working on a client and there's a heavy memory stuck in like their arm, let's say, this is real, bodywork's extraordinary. So, their elbow hurts, their arm is numb, they have, what do they call, carpal tunnel syndrome, a slew of symptoms. You can start to release the blockages through the acupuncture and then work on the tissue, and a lot of times that'll do a lot of work because you're addressing actually where the memories are stored in that arm. But a lot of times it's an old ancient memory that says, I ain't going anywhere. You try to move me, good luck. This is where I'll do this work and tap into that person's subconscious, and they're going to reveal what the root memory is. If, let's say, I know already, let's say if they're stuck in a lung issue, lung meridian issue, let's say it's an anger issue, the side of their leg will be real tight. The gallbladder meridian runs down the whole side of the leg. They might feel a lot of cramping and grabbing along the side of their leg. So once you get to know all these meridians physically on the body, these memories store in various places. And now you can kind of recognize when doing body work, this is old, this is ancient, this is not moving. Body work is not going to do it. This memory needs to be attended to. But you don't even know where the memory is coming from, so now you do this work to extract the source of the memory. And it's extraordinary. This person who developed this work was a body worker, and when he was able to do this on somebody, the pain would go away completely.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, if you do this really, really well, you could start to reverse a tremendous amount of physical pain. Because the bottom line is, as a body worker, I know damn well, all I'm doing is trying to help the person let go. And what do you mean let go? It's really clean or release or forgive ancient held memories. Some going back 30 years, some going back much longer. Now let me just say this, the body work itself is a form of self-love and nurturance, because once you start to get close to that area of trauma in the body is wanting help to release the trauma, and there are ways to do that through body work directly. But at the deepest level, you go to this work to get to the next level of really where the memory says, I'm not budging. And believe me, I've seen people like that. There's no way I'm ever going to let go, because they can't get to the source. So that is one of the biggest problems. And this work, you never know where you're going to find the memory. It could go back into a past life, 10 generations back. Here's another thing in terms of memory and relationships. I wanted to show one other thing here that's very fascinating. How do I back arrow?
So can it be an ancestor, like you said earlier, like you're saying how far it could go back, but it may not even be ours, correct?
It's most, since everybody has the same meridian body and the same basic emotions, yeah, it's replay. It's always memory replay. Now, you might create your own little tune, and then they might sue you because you copied someone else's tune. But you're always plagiarizing from, you learned it from somebody else. So a lot of it's absorbed or inherited. Now, if you have a memory if you're acting really crazy and feeling psycho, chances are these are called miasms. You're into homeopathy.
Yeah.
So that's when you're really psycho. It might go back 5 generations and be one of these disease leftover memories, which the person who had the disease, let's say your great-great-grandfather had syphilis. So syphilis, where are the keynotes for syphilis? Right, where are they? Here we go. Syphilis, destruction, homicide, suicide, ulcers, impossible. You're really off the chart. All the emotions in miasms are intense. So if you're feeling particularly intense about something, and it says it's an inherited memory, then the next question I'll ask, is it a miasm? And then I find out which one it is, and then you clear it. Once you track it back, if it goes back 6 generations, and let's say the emotion let's go back to the emotion chart. Oops. No, it's that one. Okay, so let's say let's say it's panic or hopelessness. These are intense emotions, or disgust. And and when you do this work, you'll check, and they'll say, well, I got this at conception. It's an inherited emotion. So you just simply ask, is it a miasm? You can usually tell, because miasms are much more jacked up emotions. It's when you feel crazy, one possible source is that you're actually replaying an ancestor's miasmic event.
Huh.
It's the horror zombie movie. It's not a PG movie. It's an R violent movie.
Right.
And this is what we're afraid of. Literally, we're afraid of some storage of somebody's experience. It freaks us out. And guess what the ultimate thing these experiences are needing the most? They're needing forgiveness and love. So when we can get into this communing work and get close to these experiences and get God close to them, it's like a committee, because your subconscious is bringing them up. Now you're trying with your conscious mind to support that process of bringing them up to God. When you work with your conscious, your subconscious, your superconscious, then God says, okay, I'll help you out.
So pray, lots of prayer, and gratitude. Gratitude is so important. Like we forget. And like what we were talking about earlier, to give gratitude for our guides and our angels, our ancestors.
Yeah, but also to be grateful for the negative information that's being brought up. That's the biggest piece right there. The way Dr. Yulin puts it is, thank you yet again for bringing up this stuff. He doesn't put the word stuff, but here it comes again. Here's another opportunity to get it clean. If it hasn't gotten cleaned, it's going to keep coming back up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Now, what you're going to notice is if you go through 20 rounds of, let's say, the certain themes on my father's side, for instance, that I've worked on, and they're very heavy in my father's generational tree. Man, when you go through, it gets way lighter. It's like, you may say you have filthy clothes and you put them through one cycle and they don't get it all, then you go through another cycle. Maybe you'll never get the last bit of stain, but it's not going to be filthy anymore. So your load is going to be a lot lighter, so to speak. And the water in the laundry will look almost perfectly clean, but there'll be maybe a shadow memory still there. But it's really the difference between memories that are killing you and memories that are just sort of subtly there is huge. Difference between a peaceful life and being like totally sick and tortured and in chaos. I mean, really, that's what's killing people. They've got memories replaying in their subconscious, and they can't free them.
Hmm. Wow,
So,
Andrew.
yeah, this is very good.
It
Sorry?
is so important. I mean, I said this is heavy stuff, but it's so important. I mean, it is vital to know this, to have this knowledge so that we can clear it.
Well, let's just think of also like you go into a relationship, you think the person's going to be perfect and wonderful. As soon as they start sneaking in their dark side, that's the first test. How are you going to react?
As soon as the honeymoon period is over, right?
I'm sorry?
I said as soon as the honeymoon period is over and you face reality.
Right. As soon as they start feeling safe enough to show their dark side, that's the next big test. I'm going to show my dark side. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to freak out, run, get angry? I'd say, half the time when people start, people measure this. So if you can show your dark side to yourself, you're way ahead of the game.
Right.
Then you're in control of your dark side. You can work with it. And now your partner's inspired because they're going to go, wow, okay. Maybe the reward for you getting in touch with your dark side and cleaning it might be the next day they turn into a raving lunatic. And now it's safe to show my dark side.
I think just have that transparency, so that you can communicate about it and deal with it.
I'm telling you that most of the time people don't. I mean, I have to sit down. I've done this a lot, so I'm more aware. Okay, something's going on here. I can even just do the prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer, a lot of times, and it's like saying it does bring a certain immediate response. If you do the work a lot, you can go into short form with it, so to speak. But it takes a lot of sessions of long form before you can get a short form response. But the Ho'oponopono is the short form, basically. They're saying, we have no idea where this memory is coming from, but you're sending it up, and I want to thank you for sending it up and support this process, and I love you to the inner child. Thank you for sending up this memory. And you just keep saying that. Thank you, I love you, thank you, I love you. There's also, I'm sorry, please forgive me, which is kind of like, I'm sorry for whatever I've done to keep this going, for my part, whether I've perpetuated or however, forgive me for my role in the perpetuation of this memory. Or maybe forgive me that I haven't yet been able to help you fulfill the total cleaning. That's another part of the prayer. But by repeating that to a memory, talking to the memory and saying, I see you, I don't know where you are, thank you for sending up this memory, I'm supporting the inner child, thank you again, you keep going round and round. It's really quite an extraordinary mantra.
Yeah, it's very powerful too. I was doing it.
Once you start to get the feedback and the cleaning takes place, and you're then grateful for that. Thank you for what happens when you have a memory that's plaguing you. You do the prayer, and all of a sudden, an hour later you're free, or 3 days later you're free.
Right.
That's a huge. Let's say this memory's been plaguing you for like 50 years, and now all of a sudden you're free of that memory. That's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. Right.
One thing I do encourage people to do when they do this work is to keep a health chart or a observational chart put down the worst symptoms of your life. No money, no relationship. I got this pain in my here, pain there. Every symptom you can think of. And as you start to do these healing practices, go back and look at your health chart and re-rank your symptoms.
Sorry, I'm just sending a message to Joanne here. Joanne is asking for the PDFs. So if I can get those from you, Andrew, and I'll put them up on the Quantum Life Education site.
Which PDF?
The PDFs of all the charts. But also any other PDFs that you...
I can send you a link to the Dropbox account, and there's a bunch of stuff in there.
Thank you. Okay.
There's actually a lot of good stuff in this Dropbox.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Alrighty. Should we finish up?
Okay. This is an interesting document. This is the original teacher of Ho'oponopono.
What's his name again?
Morna.
Right. It was a guy. I think you sent me some information one time, and it was a guy. Maybe it was.
Yeah, he's the current teacher. Is her students, and he's kind of shortened the process. But actually, this is well worth reading because this is dealing with basically asking for the generational memories to be forgiven.
Okay.
And I refer to them both. One is Dr. Yulin is really. It's like a subconscious mantra talking to the subconscious directly. But her thing is like, look, I recognize that these memories are part of a generational suffering, and it's like directly asking for the generations to be cleaned. You can describe where the suffering's coming from. At the end of the day, you have to develop your own practices to help literally get to these long-standing memories that have been around a long time. There's many other people out there doing different things. I just say don't avoid. They're deep. They dig in, and I have my system for working with dug-in memories.
All right. Well, if you wouldn't mind sending those to me, Andrew, and I'll post those links from the Dropbox. Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing all this. I know how dedicated you are to helping people and health and wellness. And
well, yeah, and we live in times where there's an intense amount of karma going on, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it's also a very exciting time to be here because there's a lot of transformation, too, huh?
You're correct. For every problem, there seems to be an equal high-powered response.
Yeah, right.
That's if you see that's really incredible. In other words, they make it worse, and then the light, as it gets darker, it gets lighter. Because it all has to go back to zero.
Yeah, that would be another great webinar, 0 point. Maybe you can do that.
That's what they're talking about. When you erase a memory, go back to zero, and you open up a space to receive grace and inspiration. That's what they say.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you. Your battery's running low.
Yeah. It makes bird noises.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.